It's very heartening. It's brilliant in its simplicity, but again, this is not rocket science. And again, this is not, it is, while it's unique, it's not the only amazing thing that's going on. And I think that's the real message here, that there's so much amazing things going on. So many amazing things. I have a few minutes, but I wanted to kind of hammer home what we are trying to accomplish and what I think we all can accomplish. And that goes back to this idea of building a movement, right? Really, building a movement. I mean, we need to really mobilize in a way that can have audacious results. So, one, we need to focus on the hope and optimism out there. So it is what the department's doing here, it's what Casey Family Services is doing here, it's what Treehouse is doing here, it's what the Rudd Adoption Program at UMass is doing here, it's what everybody is doing here. We need to have a wider appeal, and we need greater involvement, we need audacious and stunning progress, we need quantifiable, paradigm-changing success, and we need a constellation burning bright. So, to achieve this hope and optimism, we need to do what we've engaged in doing already, which is changing that foster care narrative. It's not a system that's broken by any means. It's a system that's working to get better and better and better with cuts to the bone. Here in Massachusetts, the department has lost tens of millions of dollars in the last 2 years and still is fighting for this state's collective children, bearing the responsibility that all of us as citizens of this country should be bearing. Just think about it, just to kind of hammer that home. In 1998, there were 560,000 kids living in out-of-home placements in foster care. In 1998. In 2009, that number had dropped to 424,000. That's really what foster care is. It's finding ways to do better. Casey Family Services, I was just in Bridgeport, Connecticut, giving a talk to children experiencing foster care, high school age, who are in therapeutic foster care. So these are what you consider very difficult placements. I mean, children who have endured major trauma. And I was giving them a 2.5-hour lecture on how to leverage the media to serve the purpose of driving a movement to help their brothers and sisters, and putting on them, the burden is on them, because they're the ones that could lead us all to the next place. And they were feverishly taking notes for 2.5 hours. That's the story of foster care. Teenagers on a Saturday sitting in a hotel conference room listening to a boring 31-year-old guy yammer away about who knows what. The wide appeal and involvement, that we need to I want to bridge the child welfare movement with greater movements in this country, larger movements. One of those is education. The work here that's been going on by the department and the work by the Department of Education to work together in these 9 locations, to work together around the issue of children, that can make this issue of child welfare, I believe, mainstream. The audacious and stunning goals. In 2011, I want foster youth written into Title I spending. That's the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. It's no longer only a child welfare issue. Children are also an education issue, and that's something I want to focus on. I want major foundation support for a multi-state or national study on how children are faring, children experiencing foster care are faring in schools. I want that kind of data so we have a baseline from which to show those crazy success stories that we've seen in Sacramento, or we've seen in Washington, or we've seen in Northern California, or Southern California, or Massachusetts, or Maryland. Once we have that baseline of data, we can really mark that upward success and start really making the case for a much wider involvement of people. That's what I believe. You know, I'll tell you a story about the pre-K school movement very briefly, just to kind of talk to you about what's possible. There was this Perry preschool in Illinois, which did an amazing job at basically taking disadvantaged youth and giving them an environment where they could succeed in school and beyond. And for the pre-K movement, the turning point was when economists came into the fold and started really focusing their attention on what the cost-benefit analysis of this is. We're in a capitalist society. Everything comes down to dollars and cents. The moral imperative is one piece, but we also need the fiscal imperative. And they did a study, a long-term study, and they found that at age 27, for every dollar invested in these young kids, they got a return of $7.16. 8 years later, for every dollar they had spent, now the return was $17. So you see there this compelling argument that drove the pre-K movement to where it is, where you've got states all across the country, Oklahoma, for example, with a cross-state pre-K system. I mean, this is what's possible also in child welfare. So we need to attract leaders for the foundation world who can focus on the educational outcomes of foster youth. We need economists to come and focus in on this stuff. We need therapists. We need adoption experts. We need journalists. We need social workers. We need the general public. We need teachers. What I'm saying is that to do all of this, we need one very simple thing, and something that we have here today, and that is that constellation centered around that little planet, which is a child, just burning bright. And that's something we can do. We have it here. It doesn't just take a village, as Carmen says. I think it takes a constellation. So thanks, everybody, for coming out. I want to thank the Treehouse Foundation, Friends of Children, the Rudd Adoption Research Program at UMass. I want to thank the sponsors, the Care Center, the Women's Fund of Western Massachusetts, the Community Foundation of Western Massachusetts, the Smith School of Social Work, and Berkshire Children and Families for coming together and making this event possible. And I want to thank you guys all for deciding to spend a Monday engaged in the hard work, but the really rewarding work of trying to focus on children and make the lives of children better. So thank you very much. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.